Good afternoon. I'm Sean Childs, fantasyanalyst.substack.com, longtime NFBC player since 2004. I'm on with Eddie Gillis, who I think he started in 2004 as well, and I think he won the AL Auction League in New York, and I won the one in Vegas, so we were the first two. Kind of paired up with him in 2006 when we met in Vegas, and been a pretty good friend for since then, and he's done really well in football and baseball. So Eddie Gillis, how you doing?
Sean, how we doing? It's been a while. Haven't done one of these in a long time.
I know, since we did the humanity thing, we did about 400 player profiles way back then. So,
Yeah.
what I've been doing, I did a draft the other night with Greg on the NFBC, and we talked a little bit when we were doing the draft and strategy and stuff like that. So for the Substack thing, I wanted to do a video, and I decided to do it live, which is kind of outside the box for me. We're on a live thing format, and I guess people can ask questions, and I'm not too familiar on that side of the thing. But, basically I'm going to put up this draft board, and then we're going to go from there, and I'll show my screen, and we'll go back and forth a little bit. So let me see, just get it there, present the screen. Let me see, I'm a kind of a rookie at this too, but I think that should be fine. All right. So here we go. This is the draft board. It was a 12-team 350 online championship. I was done on Thursday night, February 5th. Really, I've been writing about the player pool. I'm probably about 280 players in, just trying to get a mental picture of what I think of everybody, and I've been pushing it out on Substack as I go, and they will start pushing on Fantasy on SI starting this week. So that player stuff, and it'll be different groupings and stuff like that. But the goal is, we're all me and Eddie and stuff like that. We've been playing the high stakes, and our goal is to get ready for the live events in Vegas. There are some high dollar leagues that go on the last weekend. The $10,000 auction, the platinum, and somehow Eddie has done the platinum the last couple of years. I don't think he's going to Vegas. Actually, he didn't do the platinum last year. He did the auction, but this year he might do the platinum at home with a partner, and we'll see what happens. So what I'm going to do is, when I was at pick 11 in this draft, and the ADPs in the queue were still kind of felt like they were 15 teamers. It was not a lot of drafts, and so it kind of had a weird flow to it. Like you didn't really know where players were going to go, but it's almost like the early days. It's a little more pure, where you see who you have on your team. You have to make a decision who you like the best, that you think might go in the next couple of rounds, and then try to build your team. So, Eddie, you probably don't do a lot of 12-team leagues, but do you have a different philosophy that you would try to do in the 12-teamer? Do you go for upside, different structure, wait on different positions? Anything you want to add?
Probably upside. I've done 9 15-teamers, so I haven't done any 12 yet, so I'm not really ready for them. I know it's more superstars league. I did watch some of this draft, so I would just probably go value when I'm drafting. Just best player on the board, 12 or 15s,
Yeah, so when I was doing the KDS for this thing, it was the first one. And last year I think I drafted 14 draft champions, online event, main event type of leagues. And I had Skeens on 13 teams, and I had the one team I didn't get Skeens. He got drafted pick 7 in a live main event, and I took Scooble to stay on script. So I was pretty high on Skeens last year. Everybody was worried about his wins. The numbers end up being really good. Didn't match the couple of players, but he was the best pitcher in the National League. Crochet and Scooble end up beating him as far as my fantasy points gain score that I use on the site. But he was still a pretty impressive. I think going to back. So I wanted to, on this KDS, I wanted to start at like 9 or 10 and go back to the back end. I would have taken any of the first 4 positions, but the middle, it wasn't like Soto and Carroll like him, Ramirez like him. Kuna was fine, and I like Witt. So if I was in the top 4, I don't know what I would have done there. But anyway, so I got pick 11, and I did not think that Skeens would make it. So
right.
When Skeens made it to me, right, the pretty much the flow in the first round is pretty much on script, except for Gunnar Henderson normally wouldn't go even in a 15-teamer. He's more on the back end, right?
Right. 14, 15, 16.
And Dela Cruz, I'm not, because I haven't really drafted many teams live, and I've, more in the middle, so I haven't drafted the back end. But anyway, so Skeens makes it to me. I'm happy with the pick. I don't know where I'm going to go in the second round. I guess Julio Rodriguez would have probably been the best hitter for me as far as balance. I know a lot of people are kind of in Nick's Kurtz camp, and I drafted the GC that I had pick 8, and I started with Skeens, and Kurtz was there, and I was kind of not in my research of what I stood on him. And I go in that draft, Guerrero was going on the 14th, 15th turn. So when it came to me, I was like, I know Kurtz was really good. I looked at his numbers, and I'm not researching it fully. I'm just looking at the stuff, and I'm like, you know what, this is the guy, right kind of guy with the upside. So for me, if it made it back to me after I took Skeens, like Kurtz and Rodriguez would have been my probably top two choices. I mean, you have to like Tucker going to the Dodgers, but in that situation, just say Crochet's not in the picture on that draft. Who would you have taken in the second round? In that spot.
Uh, if I think I would have done what you did. I like the Skeens Crochet start. Uh, just a huge advantage, strikeout wins, everything. So I did like that. I think I would have done the same thing because Skeens did fall to 11. So if Crochet was going here, I might have gone, like you said, Rodriguez, or I might have gone Raleigh. In a 15 team, I would have gone Raleigh because it's such a hard position to knock out with free agency and stuff. Maybe I would have gone Rodriguez in a 12-teamer. So Raleigh in a 15-teamer, and I think I might have gone Rodriguez. I've been happy with either one, but maybe Rodriguez in a 12-teamer.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting because you taking Raleigh is completely out of the realm of you're usually a fade the catchers or
Right.
maybe even get the first one after round 10. And now you're saying this guy's got 60 home runs. Even if he gets 40, I feel is an advantage. He stole some bases last year.
Yeah.
The approach got a little bit better, and the batting average maybe is not as bad as it was. But you have to be impressed with what he did last year, and I get it. He rates really well. So that's what it is. When we're going down, the really wasn't a pitcher-heavy draft. I think the 12 teamers will have a little more variance of where the pitchers go. Sometimes you're going to get with a little more NFBC veterans that are going to push up pitchers, especially when you get to the main events live. Pitchers become a premium, they're going to fight them. And I thought when I was doing this, we're kind of doing it on the fly and not really knowing. But I thought that you get pinched a few times because, like when it got back to like round 14 for Albies, like his ADP was inside of 150 or close to 150. But he goes in the 13th round in a 15-team league. So you're trying to like mentally picture, am I taking this guy too early? Who should I get? And trying to time it. So it's kind of interesting. So, But anyways, in the second round, all the normal players kind of go. I guess Vlad went a little bit later than what I've seen. I'm not sure where you think he goes.
He did. I think he slid. Well, it is a 12-team, so I got to get used to that. But he probably slid a couple picks anyways, maybe 3.
Yeah, and then Alonso kind of goes after him, after Kurtz or whatever. So normal power. The first two guys go, pretty much straight offense and just kind of get out of the box really good.
Yeah.
The 13-3 kind of look like two balanced guys that way. Gilbert coming off an injury year, but pretty talented. Sanchez, a really, really big mover this year in the drafts, considering I would think that he was probably the value pitcher of the year. I had Hunter Brown as my breakout pitcher of the year, and I think that Sanchez went after him and had a better overall of the year. So, Kenny Repeat, the velocity's up, nice lefty. And Yamamoto, I know you had him on some teams, is really, really special. I would imagine if you had the choice of those, Logan Gilbert, Sanchez, and Yamamoto, you might have went Yamamoto first.
I think I would. Yes, I like Yamamoto quite a bit on the Dodgers. He's going to get a lot of wins, maybe not as many Ks or innings, but I do like Sanchez. I like all of them, but I probably would go Yamamoto here. A little loyal to him since he gave me such a great season last year. I had him in a few leagues. The $10,000 league auction we had him in. So I like Yamamoto quite a bit. So yeah, I would have taken him here, but I would have been happy with any one of those 3 too.
Yeah. So then a couple closers go, which is kind of happening in the 15-teamers. They're trying to get in front of the closer position, not chase it on the waiver wire, spend so much money picking up players. I think James Wood was probably a push by Nelson in the third thing. And this draft shows all the teams' names, and that was Greg released him by accident. So it is what it is, and the names are out there. But he pushed up Wood a little bit.
Yeah,
he had a nice year, but he had a little pocket in the middle of the season where he was with him like a champ, but he came back. But he looks like he's a pretty talented player. Tatis, I'm not really liked him early in his career. He just hasn't lived up to expectations for me. So it's like I don't even really want to fight for him. I would settle for him, but Nelson went with a big ace, comes back with 2 guys that could potentially steal some bases and hit some home runs. Then Duran goes off, and so when it came to me in the third round, in the back of my mind, I knew I took the two pitchers, but just based on how the player flow was going to go, and I can see the player pool a little further, I kind of thought that I would take a reliever on that turn. I like Wyatt Langford a lot, and I really need probably a balanced skill set. But he's missed a couple times the last couple of years with the oblique issues and stuff like that. So I was like, well, let me just take Cade Smith. I just think that Cleveland gives their closers a lot of save chances. He's had 40 saves a lot. He got 100 strikeouts. It's going to give me that one closer in a 12-teamer where I'm going to have a lot bigger ranges to fill out some other positions, and I'm comfortable that I potentially could get part of the offense right. So I decided to go Cade Smith and see what happened. Guy went Hunter Brown, really like him. Took Langford at the corner, no problem with that. So then here's where it gets tricky when you're switching from a 15-teamer to 12. I did a 15-team online. I had picked 2 with Judge, and Olsen makes it all the way back to pick 59, and here we are at 38, and I'm taking Olsen. And when you see that, do you think that's early, or would you, what do you think when I'm doing that?
I thought you did take Olsen a little early. I think there might have been a small chance he'd come back to you, maybe 30%. Probably don't want to do that gamble, but if you didn't get Olsen, I could have lived maybe if Naylor or Freeman or one of those guys. I might have gambled on not taking Olsen there, hoping he makes it back. If he doesn't, I could have gotten Naylor or one of those guys. I like the Cade Smith. You got your closer out of the way, and I know how much you like Hunter Brown and Langsford. I think if you could go back, I think maybe you would have taken one of those two, and then hoping you could get Cade Smith. Then I think you would have been a lot happier with, say, Langford and Cade Smith or Brown and Cade Smith.
Yeah, the goal was the goal when I was taking Olsen, it was that I was thinking that their offense has been down, hasn't replicated, when Acuna was healthy and he was doing so much and he had the 73 steals, a bunch of home runs, and Olsen had a good year. I thought that there was going to be a bounce back in the Atlanta offense, so I was willing to get a home run hitter that hits in a good part of the lineup. His batting average has been okay. His approach has improved a little bit, and I just think he's going to get a lot of RBI chances. And it was between him and Devers for me. Yeah. As far as first base, and I just went with Devers in the San Francisco ballpark, and I like the offense better in Atlanta, so I pushed on him. I guess in the back of my mind, I probably, overall skill set, if he stays healthy, Yordan Alvarez is probably the more talented player all around. Like he could hit for average, he could hit a ton of home runs, but he consistently misses time, and he is clogging up the DH. I guess it's okay. The two teams took Schwarber and Ohtani early, so But other than that, I mean, that was my decision at there. And then pretty much, when it leaves that thing, I actually am thinking that like Betts made it back to me that I probably would go shortstop next, and Abrams was a consideration. But so anyways, it goes off, Cole Reagan's coming off an injury year. Will he bounce back? Was pretty talented a couple years ago. Short resume of success. Machado, a veteran guy. Marte had a good year 2 years ago, got a little bit dinged up last year. Rice has got really pushed up, and I guess I should talk about Rice a little bit because he was getting drafted early. They signed Bellinger, clogs a little bit, but he's going to play the outfield, and then they just added Paul Goldschmidt. So now does he shift more into the catcher position, play some DH, and play first base? Is that enough to take in Rice? I mean, he looks like he could hit 30 home runs if he get 500 something at bats and qualify a catcher, especially if he's going to be at like another position. He's going to get more playing time. So what are your feelings on that?
That's one of the biggest surprises to me, how high he's going. I just think that's way too high for Rice. We've seen it once. I know he hit the 27 homers and a good chance he could hit more, but there's so many players in that round. I think Rice is I could be wrong that Yankee ballpark's made for him, but I wouldn't be taking Rice to maybe like the 6th round. So I know I'm not going to get any of him this year. I think out of all the guys in the first 4 rounds, he's the one that's priced wrong, in my opinion. I just think you're paying a big price to get. I know you're not going to have to catcher. That's nice, and like you said, he might play some other positions. But I'm not going to have any Rice this year. And I had him last year. It was nice getting him on the waiver wire or a late pick. But I think Andy Robinson got him. I don't know if it was a waiver wire. I remember he had him all year in his platinum. But I'm not going to have much Rice this year.
Yeah. So, Devers goes off the board. Started the season last year. The Red Sox whiffed like 15 times, first 18 bats, gets traded, didn't want to switch positions, and now he's going to end up playing first base in San Francisco. He's a professional hitter. He's going to be fine. He had enough damage there, just a little bit of batting average, and he's good enough to overcome that. I have no problem with him if he was made it to me in the 5th round, which technically he could compared to some of the 15 team drafts. But I would take him. Sale, really good 2 years ago, a little banged up missed a little bit of time for Atlanta. Still looks pretty good as a player. Munoz, one of the top closers. Some guys went ahead of him in this draft. Duran and Smith. And I had talked to you maybe offline about the Duran Munoz conversation. And for me, that I had that decision in another draft, and I chose Duran because I thought that he would get a better chance to pitch more, get more appearances for Philadelphia than I thought Munoz was. And Munoz could really get electric and get a lot higher, but like a lot more strikeouts. But those two are kind of close. But I would have taken Duran. Yeah. And I know you said you would have taken Munoz offline.
I probably would have taken Munoz, but that one's pretty much a flip of a coin. I'd be happy with either one. So both great strikeout numbers.
Yeah, and you were really on Wu last year. He was one of the Seattle pitchers. They had a bunch of pitchers young, have coming off good years. Wu had looked like he had the biggest injury risk, and he had the best season. So, he gets the great season, right? Had injury risk last year. He's getting drafted as a top tier ace now. You no fear that maybe this is when the injury appears, or do you think he's completely past that?
No, there's always fear. I don't think Wu's ever had the Tommy John surgery. That was the big fear last year, but he was just so good. He was my most owned player last year, so I've been on Wu for the last couple of years. And of course, this year he's going to be a lot harder to get. He's kind of going middle 3rd round, sometimes a little earlier in the 15th, sometimes a little later. So I'm a Wu guy. I'd like to get him again this year in those 15 teamers. So I guess a good place to draft, if you really like Wu a lot, would be in the middle, that 6, 7, 8, because if you're too far back, he's not going to make it yet. And even at 6, 7, 8, you still might not get him. I mean, he has, I was hoping, with Tommy John, maybe in the future, that it would scare people away. But I mean, I've seen some of the best players grabbing him early in that 3rd round. It's like, damn, I do not like. In my last round, I think Mike Maggard just took him right in front of me. So, yeah, I'm good. I got Wu already 3 times. I'm definitely going to have some this year in the big leagues. And that's my guy. I love him. But you are going to pay to have Brian Wu this year.
Yeah, DeGrom comes back off the injury, has a pretty good season. I think he trailed off a little at the end of the year. I think he gets a little more length to his season. Definitely has the talent to be, a really, really great pitcher. We all know his injury history in the past. Brent Rooker went from DH only qualification last year, and now he qualifies at outfield. That makes him a little more attractive. His approach improved. The lineup in the A's is better. He's going to hit one off of most likely of Kurtz. It's either going to create some more run opportunities or get some, score some more RBIs. He's got better. I bet the under on him 2 years ago, and he had 13 home runs at the probably halfway point of the season. And his over-under was 25.5, and he just crushed it for like a month and a half. And I had a chance for like a 5-team parlay, and he ruined it. But it was a prop bet before the season. Hunter Green, I was big on him last year. Liked him a lot. Did what I expected. Unfortunately, I think he missed about 2 months of the season and just kind of let people down. But now, with that happening and what he did, he's actually getting drafted a lot higher than he did last year. And I thought, coming into last year, he looked just as good. So I like him a lot. But because he has the injury risk, I'm not sure if I would pair them together. And it's interesting because in Team 2, Brinkman is a pretty good player. And I know he had a lot of teams up in the overall. So he kind of took 2 really upside arms that are talented, but they do have a little bit of an injury risk or missed time risk behind them. So, Green, you on him? Doesn't suit you?
I like Green. I think I've gotten him once. Like you said, he's going so much higher than last year. So he's going to be hard to get. But, depending where I'm at, I need a pitcher. I would definitely, if I think he's the best guy on the board, I would take him. But I wouldn't reach for him either. I might play a little safe there. But I do like Green.
Yeah, the player that's going to be the really wild card is the Roman Anthony. I mean, he really looks like the exit velocity and all that other stuff matches up. He's really talented. Missed a little bit of time. Hasn't really had explosive home runs or steals, but he looks like he's going to be a well-rounded player. Probably, I would think this is a little earlier than he goes in the 15 team, or what's that, 51? So that's the middle of the in the 15 teamer in the middle of the fourth round. I haven't drafted him. I think that if he slides a little later and my decisions are different, I do like his ceiling. I just don't know if he's going to hit on all cylinders this year. What are your thoughts on him?
Oh, I like Anthony. I mean, half his season, if you looked at his numbers and doubled them, he would have had a 30-100. Only 4 steals, I think it was. So, but I'm hearing the steals are going to go up maybe 15 to 20. So I like that too. I just got Anthony in the draft I'm doing now, a 15 teamer in the 6th round, like 8 picks in. It was a no-brainer. Obviously, he fell quite a bit. And that, I think that was either the second or third time I got him. Usually, like you said, it's end of 4th, early 5. So that one was a gift, like at 6-7 or 6-8. And I like Anthony. I think he could have a big year. So I'll have some shares of him. But I think when we get to the big leagues, the main events, I got a feeling he's going to stay in that 4, and I'm not going to get lucky to see him slide like that. I think that was just a lucky draft.
All right, this would be a good time. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna leave the draft board and shift off for 1 second. So I started doing the baseball research. I started a cheat sheet. It's a Google sheet that's free to everybody to look at, and I'm gonna close to it because I'm gonna bring up his profile because it's a good time. So basically, I put up 450 players, for the main event. I took the ADPs from starting in January, and once I start working through the player pool, I don't want to, update ADPs and move it around. I just want to be consistent. I'm not so worried about what their ADP is a month later. I just want to have them in order and make sure I don't miss anybody. So in this particular case, I'm going to go to the outfield position, and Anthony is, where is he? He's the 13th ranked ADP. ADP is 66 in early January. He was 51 here. He did go earlier. So what I want to show you is that I put in this link. Every player I've written who has a blue link, and like I said, anybody can go to this. And I'm just going to click on his link, and it's going to go to my Substack page, and you're going to see the write-up. So where Eddie was talking about, what he did last year. Sorry, I went to the wrong place. And sorry, I clicked on Brent Rooker by mistake. It dropped down. That's my bag.
Yeah.
It went below it. Sorry. So yeah. So we're looking at, this is the profile I wrote in Anthony, and basically the end of it, the fantasy outlook is kind of what I rounded into for him. Last year he was 8 for 32 for 257 at bats, but combined he had 18 home runs, 61 RBIs, 93 runs, 7 steals, but he did show the earlier speed. So I just want to kind of show that these players are written, and they are in groups of different 5s on the Substack side. And if somebody wanted to read that, they could. But all the stats, I kind of put it there with a picture of a guy, and you can see like on the notes section of, this is the Substack site, but on the notes section of the site, let me just go to this one more thing. And all the players that I've done so far are all in order. They're in the order that I've been writing them. And this is like almost like a RotoWire feed.
Yeah.
And there's 280 players here. And I just basically wanted to show that if people want to go to it. But going to the cheat sheet allows you to bring it to these players rather than searching through them. But if you want to go through it, and then they also are emailed for going out. So like I said, I'm going to get to a couple players in this draft, and I have a kind of a against the grain position, and I will jockey back to that. So anyways, Anthony upside, still, I think he might not get there. Would prefer to get him a discount. But I do think he's a talented player. And Bryce Harper, longtime player. He just hasn't never got to where we thought we would be. Bryce Rang exploded last year, 2 years ago with all the steals, and last year he ended up being a little more balanced player. I think he had 18 home runs. The steals backed up. Could hit higher in the lineup. A lot to like there at Milwaukee, but just a balanced skill set. Especially, he's got Chisholm, Carroll, Terang. That's a lot of speed. Got Devers. So now he doesn't have any starting pitchers. How does he get out? And that's going to be interesting to see. Max Fried coming off a couple big winning seasons. And people are really kind of gravitating to the Yankee guys because they got 18 wins. I know Rondon is coming into the season injured. injured, so that he will go a lot later. But Fried, because he has the wins, people are going to take him, and they're going to give up some strikeouts. So here we are. So coming down to me, I was thinking about Abrams because I had Olson. I really wanted kind of a balanced leadoff type skill set, and he was in my thoughts, and he didn't make it down. But he is the type of player that would have fit what I was trying to do. Are you, if you had a choice between, say, Betts and Abrams, are you a fading Betts because he's been kind of quiet the last couple of years? Abrams is a guy it likes, or are you going to go a different direction with that skill set?
I like both these guys. Megan, I'm on a show.
He has been trained.
Sorry about that. The dog took a toy. He can have that friggin' toy. All right, Cece.
Yeah. So.
All right. Yeah. I think Betts is a nice buy this year. I mean, what was he? Was he second, third round last year? I mean, a year before that, he was a top 5 pick.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Betts came into last year. Betts came into last year where he had lost a lot of bit of weight, and he started to slide. So people would take him at the back end of the first round, and they were thinking they were going to get a value on him, and at the same time, Freeman was sliding to like the third, fourth round, and both of those Dodger players didn't end up being values. But the reason the Abrams would have fit the steals, but when it's coming down to me, realistically, I was interested in Betts because I figured he could bounce back and score 125 runs. He had 30 home runs a couple of years ago. He's playing for the Dodgers, score a lot of runs. I don't think he's going to get a lot of steals. He's only really last year he didn't steal much, maybe 10 or 12 the 2 previous seasons. So, my ceilings of steals are not there, but I do get the advantage. He could pop in batting average. He could hit home runs. He's definitely for me, is going to be an advantage in runs. So,
Sean,
Abrams is a different kind of skill set there.
Betts is going in the 5th round in 15 teamers. I mean, in a bad year, he scored 100 runs. I mean, he's still going to probably get you to 10 steal, 8 to 10. That's fine, maybe even more. And the average is going to go up. He had a horrible batting average. Remember last year he had that horrible start. He was 20 pounds underweight. It took him almost the whole season to get to be in Mookie Betts again. I think the last 6 to 8 weeks he was Betts again, if you look at the numbers. And he's being disrespected. You can get Betts, qualifies at shortstop, tough position, and you can get him now in the 5th round. So every time I get a chance at Betts, I've even taken him at the end of the 4th. I'm going to keep grabbing him. I think I got 4 or 5 shares now. And my mindset, Abrams is another guy I like, but I would definitely take Betts over Abrams. That Dodger lineup, bat leadoff, maybe, or sometimes second. Yeah, Betts one of my sleepers this year, if you can say that, Yeah,
a couple of years ago in the Platinum, Jim Ferrari took Betts 4th overall when he was more like a 10th, 11th thing. He pinned the tail on the donkey on Betts. He had the clunker season. Maybe it was 3 years ago when he was headed down season. Then they come back the next year and he had the monster year with like the 30-something home runs, 38 home runs, whatever he had. And, sometimes like those veteran guys that have a resume and they're still in the prime of the year, 28 to 32, they can bounce back. And sometimes you're looking for those type of players. Yeah. Duran for the Red Sox. All right. Merrill went, I'm sorry. We got Logan Webb and Peralta. Peralta had a really, really good year. Doesn't really pitch deep in games for me, but he goes traded to the Mets. Probably going to be helpful a little bit. Milwaukee was awesome scoring last year, so he couldn't have a better, at least, win environment for him last year. Webb is a guy that tends to get a lot of strikeouts, and he kind of rates a little bit lower compared to the top aces. But last year he had a few more strikeouts, but he also actually believe he gave up a few more hits. And I don't want to jockey around and show these players too much and get out of the screen. But anyways, then Merrill comes off where he was really good in his rookie season, got hurt last year, didn't steal, didn't really do enough, but we think he has the talent. So we talk about Betts. So Duran for the Red Sox, really good 2 years ago, was getting drafted in the 2nd round, kind of had a comparison with Trey Turner for a lot of people in the 2nd round last year. And I think Turner was a little bit better player and got hurt. But Duran and Merrill, where do you stand on those two?
It would be Duran. Merrill, the 1 steal last year, and it was 350 at bats or more. So not on Merrill. I know there's a lot of upside there. A lot of people like him, but I like Duran. I remember last year Duran was a 2nd round pick. I remember you were off him because you knew he wasn't a 2nd round pick. But so this year you're going to probably get him at fair value. What is he? What is he in this one? The end of round 5. I'm trying to think where he's going. probably
He
what
probably goes later in the other one a little bit. Maybe
the 15 team is.
That's the end of the fifth, end of the fourth. Yeah, end of the fourth round in a
Yeah.
15 team where he goes.
I like Duran, but it seemed I haven't gotten him once in 9 drafts, so I guess he's still high, or is it just other players I like more? But Duran is someone I would be happy to have. Logan Merrill, I'm probably not going to have him, so he off my board. Let him prove it and let me see more than one steal. I know he's going to do better than that, but Duran, I'll probably have a few shares because I still got some more drafts to go before we get to the big ones.
Yes. So then we come back to Luis Robert. Coming into the league, we thought he was going to be a great player. Thought he's kind of being a Cooner guy where he could be a 30-30 guy, hit for average and whatever. He ended up getting hurt a lot, not reaching his potential. I think he stole bases, like 30-something bases last year. Missed some time, goes to the Mets. Probably going to hit third in that lineup. And if he could stay healthy and hit one slot away from Soto, that's going to be a great opportunity based on talent. I think he goes later in the 15 teamers for sure, where he took him is kind of a push, but when he's going stacking the offense, kind of makes sense. He gets a little bit of speed where he doesn't really. Duran will get some, Langford's some. The first two players really not that much, but he is a pretty good player. Riley got hurt last year, was pretty much a 30 home run hitter. I went to him because I knew that in a 12-team league, that the third baseman position is kind of tricky and it kind of drops off for me. And you could see that, I took Riley, then Garcia is more of a base dealer, really kind of more of a second base profile. And then it goes all the way around 10. So that just kind of shows the gap at the third base position. So I just figured because I'm behind an offense, I normally would go balance, but I just took the home runs, the bounce back again with Atlanta offense, and something like that. But Riley as a guy was probably a third or fourth round pick. So all first 3 picks I took, I think that if they were at their best, they would go earlier than I took them. But again, I'm honestly against you. Are you Riley? Does he fit you, or are you fading third base? You trying to get somebody in front of Riley, or are you just fading the position?
Not fading the position. I haven't gotten him yet, so not look. What's been a couple years now with the injuries. I'm just looking at this 15-teamer here, and he went in the 6th round, 1 pick in front of me. That's where I grabbed Roman Anthony. So I think if Riley stays healthy, he might come back to that 3,000 Riley again. So he's someone I need to pay more attention to because I haven't gotten him yet. But I do like Riley, and if he's going in the 6th round and third base is a tough position, he's definitely going to be on my board.
Yeah. So then we come back to Kirby, who has the great command, throws strikes, looked like he was going to be like a guy that would help you control whip. Hopefully his strikeouts improve, but he gives up too many hits. His fastball is kind of tough to hit. And then he got banged up and he missed, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, 2 months of the season. And he kind of really hurt teams. By the time we drafted the main events last year, he's probably getting drafted in the 10th or 11th round in the live events because he was already, the news was out there. So he kind of fits potential of a foundation ace, but he still doesn't have that second pitch to get the swinging pitch, enough strikeouts. So, you go from Kirby. Luzardo goes to Philadelphia. Actually, Kirby, his second game coming back last year, I think he gave up 9 runs. So if you sat on him for 2 games, you got a lot better starts because he struggled a little bit in the first game. He gave up 9 runs to Beria. You get excited and then whatever, fix it. But anyways, Luzardo goes to Philadelphia. He kind of figures out, his way, and he's a lot better pitcher. But then he throws in a couple clunker games here and there, and he just kind of disappears. But when he was with the A's coming up through the system, you thought this guy would be a dynamic, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Command was going to be there, and he just hasn't got it for Miami. But now, where he got better at Philadelphia, is he the type of player you would trust? Kirby, him? What do you think of those two?
Like them both, and they're both going high. Kirby went 5-2 in this one I'm in. I haven't gotten him yet, and I had a lot of Kirby last year because of like you said, you get him in the 9th or 10th round, and he put up some good numbers for the time he pitched. So, and Luzardo, seems like everybody likes Luzardo. I haven't gotten him once because he's going so high. I was trying to find him in this 5 team. I just don't spot them, but I like both those guys. Maybe Kirby a little more, and if I could get them in the main events, I would be very happy grabbing them as a third pitcher, like, you know.
Yeah. So Chapman kind of struggled his whole career with command, and last year in spring training, I think the catcher Wong said inside fastball, outside fastball, up, and then the light bulb went out. Throw the fastball in a location. He started throwing a lot of strikes. His command was there. The other strikeout thing has always been there. Throws hard. Really kind of fit with Boston. They re-signed him. He's 38 years old. Really, really looks attractive and looks like he kind of figured out. Hopefully the command doesn't back out. He'll still get guys out. Even when he was other years, he pitched well, but he'd have stretches where he suddenly didn't have command and just get banged around. Josh Naylor out of nowhere steals 30 bases, 20 home runs, I believe, last year. He was a guy that's got better. He got traded to Seattle. Kind of think that the steals won't come back, but we'll see. When you got who was the guy from Abrams had a big stolen base year, and a couple of the guys who have speed, and now you have a guy that really doesn't have speed. Is he going to steal 30 bases? Is he going to steal 10? Is he going to steal 15? I don't know about that profile. Langalier's home run hitter, a little bit of batting average risk. Seems like his approach getting a little bit better, but a home run source. This guy doubled at catchers. Riley Green struck out a little too much last year, but plenty of power. He looks like the power came out. He used to hit a lot of ground balls. His swing path a little bit better. He improved. The lineup in Detroit should be a little bit better. Contreras, down year last year, really didn't match what he did or whatever he thought going into last season, but he could steal a few bases. I think this guy hits a lot of ground balls, if I can remember everything right about him, but he could hit for average. He's going to hit probably second or third order in that Milwaukee Brewers lineup and score some runs. And, just a matter of how, these catchers have how much of an advantage. And then, when you're passing on like an outfielder, can you make up for that at a different position in the trade-off? So Contreras, like him, Goodman, had him on a team last year as a filler for Francisco Alvarez, and I had the other catcher, Murphy from Atlanta. Both the guys started the year on the DL. In Hunter Goodman, I picked him up in the reserve round and played him. He had 6 at-bats one week, cut him, and then he had a great season. And I knew he was going to qualify at another position, and I missed that up. So
I knew there was a story there. I remember you cut Goodman. So when you were saying you had him, I'm like, what? And then you did cut him, and that one had to hurt because he really put some nice numbers up for such a tough position.
Yeah, so that all 3 of those catchers. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. Goodman's in Colorado, got better. Could see some more time at DH and stuff like that, or another position, so you can get more at bats. Contreras. So I think those are all pretty close comparisons. And if you want to get a catcher, Garcia, to me, whenever I see this type of player, he's not a big home run hitter. He's playing third. I just like this guy's a second base in my team build. This guy is a second base. So, or if I have him at third base, I want like at shortstop, like Corey Seager. You know what I mean? So like I'm trading a middle infielder with speed, with some home run. His exit velocity is okay. He could get better and hit more home runs. But I just seen like the reverse skill set. And I did have him last year. I thought he was a pretty good cheat for the skill set he had, and he ended up paying off. And where he hits in the lineup should be better. He doesn't walk enough to really deserve like a leadoff spot, but in the Kansas City lineup, he should be pretty favorable. Like him, Bednar, going to the Yankees, really kind of figured it out last year, and he's kind of like, Devin Williams and Hader went after him, but there's only about 8 or 9 closes, and then there's kind of a drop off. Bednar and Williams, you really kind of lost it. So what do you? I'll skip Bellinger for now, but when you're looking at the closer for Bednar, Williams, and Hader, which one of those would you kind of go after? Who would you take in out of those 3?
It would be Williams, and it wouldn't be Bednar. I just remember how bad he was at some point. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. And he's another guy that seems to go high. I know Devin Williams has that great stuff, and he had so many bad parts of last year, but I think he's gonna bounce back. So I do have 2 or 3 shares of Williams. And who was the third one, Sean?
Josh Hader.
I like Hader, and I think he's a little bit of a value pick this year because he used to be like a second, third round pick every year. One of the maybe the first closer off the board last year, and now he's creeping into the middle of round 4. So if you don't have a closer, that's matter of fact in this draft here, Sean. If I remember, I remember Gecko put something up like he said, Cade Smith round 3, Hader round 7. Like he put wow, like Hader really slid, right? Is that right? Did he go in the 7th round in this draft?
Yeah.
He really slid in this one. I mean, he's pretty safe. Doesn't he put the numbers up every year? So, yeah, I'd probably put him Devin Williams, Hader. And like I said, I'm not going to have any Bednar. I might probably be wrong on that. He'll probably have a great year and put the numbers, but I want to see him do it. And plus, he's going to New York, new team. So we'll same with Devin Williams too. But yeah, no.
So Williams 2 years ago, I think he had like some sort of back issue or whatever, and really kind of missed some time. So he has a little bit of injury risk with the back. Really kind of lost it for a little bit and kind of corrected a little bit. Has a great changeup. If he could throw a few more strikes, he would be even better. He really has a lot of upside. But to me, there's some underlying injury risk there. And then Hader is coming off a shoulder injury. He makes a lot of sense that that he should get drafted. But if you ask me, I would much rather have Cade Smith than Hader. And I know that the rounds are different.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot more value there. But I just think that a guy's coming off an injury. Is he all the way back? I don't think he's had over 38 saves in his career. So like where I think like Smith could get more. I think Williams potentially could get more as well. And Bednar was pretty good. So Hader, it's a closer, and if people are choosing a closer over closer, we'll see at the end of the year who's right on that. As far as Bellinger, he hits in a good lineup. Was really on him in his breakout year in 2019. Really kind of struggled for a couple of years, but last couple of years kind of steady. And even with the Cubs, and he missed a little bit of time there. But I think you can pretty much think he's a 25 home run plus hitter, could steal 15 bases or more, playing Yankee Stadium, and he could potentially pop. They locked him up, so I like that. I've been a Bellinger fan, since I get the big year out of him. But he's, sometimes you get the big year out of a guy and he kind of burns you back. So Strider is a really, really interesting player for me because I feel as though that I drafted him a couple times in the 7th round of the 15-teamers, and I think that I was willing to catch him off a bad year at a discount, knowing that when we get to spring training, he's most likely going to have a little more velocity. His arm's going to look a little bit sharper, and people are going to be on him. He's a guy that's going to shoot up the draft board like he did last year. And this draft, because I took 2 aces early, his name never presented himself in my queue where I was thinking about him, but afterwards I went back to look to see where he went to see all right, where did he go and whatever. So 7, I like that the team 7 identified him as his first ace because I think he has the potential to do that because he's done it before. But like I said, in the early drafts he's going to be discounted, but as soon as he gets on the mound and looks a little bit better, I think that potentially he is a guy that people that took him early could have a nice spot, hopefully, and I took him twice. But at some point he's going to move up. Strider on off. What do you think?
Yeah, because where he's going. I mean, in this draft, that's really early. I mean, I'm looking at a 15-teamer going on right here, and he went in the 8th round, pick 7. That's nice. I mean, wasn't it just 2 years ago him and Acuna were 1 and 2? I mean, he put up a monster season, and then he's got the hamstring problems, I think, and some other problems. But if he can come into camp healthy, I think a lot of spring training, he whiffs 6 guys in 2 innings or something. You're going to see him jump up a few rounds. But if you're telling me I can get Strider in a 15-teamer, 6th, 7th round, I will probably have a few shares because I don't want to miss the big year like he had a couple years ago. And then 70% of that's still going to be worth a 6th, 7th round pick.
I'd say when we get to live in Vegas, he's a 4th round pick at least.
Yeah.
He's going to go in front of Webb. He's going to go in front of Peralta. He's going to go in front of Fried. Hunter Green has a pretty good chance of getting in front of him. And then probably DeGrom, no. So I would think that in that range where he would move up to, he would definitely move in front of Kirby and Lozado and stuff like. So like I said, we're betting on his talent. We have to see it on the field.
Yeah.
obviously struggled off the Tommy John. He had the eternal brace thing. They came back early. We're still to kind of know it. Normally Tommy John's maybe 18 months and they get it back. With the eternal brace, they're thinking like 15 months. That might be all right. He came back kind of quick. And the problem is, like, this is a good example of Strider. Like, when you get in spring training and a guy that's a veteran guy or something, or some pitcher, and he's trying to strike out guys in spring training, sometimes that's a bad sign, because you would rather have the guys just working on stuff and throwing strikes. If they're trying to look like they're doing something, sometimes it's going to draw in the fantasy mark, and they end up in not living up to expectations. And Strider did that last year. You mentioned Andy Robinson, he shut him up, but other people were moving him up as well. So, anyways, Buxton, he kind of put it together last year. He really has I use this thing called average hit rate that I use for the power. I think it's a really kind of a quick mental gauge for him. He checks the point where he could hit a ton of home runs. He stole bases for the first time last year. He played more games, but he has a long history of getting injured, but the talent has always been there. I think he's been a pretty good value because he popped last year for the Twins, but he's a guy that, we used to get, he was the first 2 or 3 years, he just never lived up to expectations at a, breakout young player. But what he did last year deserves where he goes, but can he come back and repeat that and stay healthy? I'm not sure. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, he put up big numbers. I wasn't on him because he hasn't done anything, and then he did it last year. He had the homers, the steals, pretty much everything. In this draft here, I'm looking, Bellinger went 6'2", Buxton 6'3". Who would you take there, Sean, if you had your choice of those two?
I'm going to take Bellinger because I trust his health a little bit better.
So
Buxton, yeah. And just for Buxton, him and Springer probably were going in the main event like 17 to 20 last year. And those were this guy ended up with 2 of those players. And those guys kind of really made rosters last year. And if somebody hit on both of them, they had a really nice lineup if they got the front of their roster right. So, Buxton, can do it. He didn't run earlier in his career, but he looked like he can do it, play center field. So we'll see. Freddie Freeman, looked like he was going to miss some time early year. He ended up hitting really well, more for power out of the gate. And it really was thinking that he was going to have one really kind of a career year in power. And then he really disappeared for 2 months. He did like almost nothing for 2 months. And then he kind of figured it out at the end of the year. So he's kind of, 36 years old or around that range, or he's getting older. And he's playing in the Dodgers, great lineup like that. He used to have a ton of, always have like 700 plate appearances, ton of at-bats, score runs, could hit home runs, even stole some bases. To me, when he was sliding down there, I was going to take Olsen, Betts, Riley, and I would have taken Freeman for sure. As like, I'll go Dodgers, Braves, and we'll see what happened. I'll figure it out. But, Team 7 took him, and you got him right next to Pascadino, who I've been a guy on it for a couple of years. I thought he would increase in that power, like that he didn't strike out a lot for a home run hitter. Even thought that maybe he could steal 3 or 4 or 5 bases, chip in that way. Runs just haven't got there, and his batting average isn't where I thought he would get. Yeah. So this comparison maybe looks closer on paper going into the year, but I think Freeman will be the better player for overall value. What do you think of those two?
Now, who you compared Freeman to?
Vinny Pascadino.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, he's an up and comer, drove in a lot of runs, like them both. I think Freeman, you're hoping he can get the average, back over 300. I mean, I think he was 292. So you want to see Freeman into 300s, he, scoring his 100 runs. I think Freeman, he is getting older. I think he's 37. Probably has another year or two in him. I think Pascantino obviously has way more upside. I mean, look at the run. He drove in a lot of runs last year, and I'm pretty sure it's probably over 30 home runs too. So that's close. I like them both. And Pascantino's hard to get. Haven't got him this year because he keeps he's off the board. And I haven't gotten Freddie Freeman yet in either of my 9 drafts. And I'm a Freeman guy. I usually have a few shares. I would say when it's all said and done, I like them both, and I'd probably have a share 1 or 2 of both these guys.
Yeah, I would expect Freeman to outperform overall Naylor and Hopper, because Hopper hasn't really done it, and I think he'll probably end up beating Devers because of the batting average. This is he stays on the field. I mean, you got Betts, you got Ohtani, and you got Tucker in the lineup, and you got him in the middle of that stuff. There's a lot of opportunities for runs and RBIs on both sides of it. And then if he's just he gets 10 or 12 steals because he just I think he stole 20 bases a few years ago, but he just kind of he'll pick his spots and he'll get some of those, not on pure speed. But so I think that he's a pretty good value for the people that are taking him. A good pick for Nelson in this draft. Estevez got saves last year. I kind of think that he is a guy that got the saves, looked like he improved. I think his strikeout rate went backed up. But sometimes when you're chasing the guy that got the save last year and the other stuff don't match up, and he's really not the primary area where he's like going on an escalator up, I think that he is a guy that probably maybe burns a little bit of people. He could back up a little bit, or he could still have like a 3.0 ERA and his whip maybe hurt you a little bit, but he gets 32 saves or 30 saves. But at least this team that drafted him, you're getting in and getting saves. You need a closer, but I think he does back up a little bit. Bradish came back last year. I know that when you got to hit the waiver wire, you were kind of interested. Me, I guess I get caught up, what he's doing in the minors, and he didn't look too sharp. Came back and he pitched really, really well. If he had what he did really, really well to the last time before he had Tommy John surgery or whatever E&G had, he pitched really well, and he pitched well in a little bit of season before that. So it's like the grouping of like 3 years together, like this looks really good. And it looks like he's going to be like a kind of an SP2 foundation guy. But now he has to pitch 150, 180 innings, and does it translate in all 1 year? And that's what people are drafting on, assuming that he can do that. So that's a big question for me, for him. And I know you liked him last year, and you even like, all right, so Strider went ahead of him, so Framber, Valdez, Cease. I mean, I would think that Bradish is probably the guy that you would probably still take there, right?
Not necessarily. I haven't gotten any Bradish yet. I know though he's going higher than I thought he would. I mean, he's going very, very high in some of these drafts, and the smart guys are on him. I don't think I'm going to have too much Bradish just because I think he's going too high. There's too many players there I like. Who was the other pitcher you were comparing him to, Sean?
Well, Framber Valdez goes next, Dylan Cease, and then Schwellenbach goes after that.
Schwellenbach, I'm going to stay off of. They're already saying, I think you said today they mentioned something about his elbow or arm problems. I heard something on pitchers list, Dr. Dave talking about him. So, God, I love Schwellenbach too, but, we'll see how he does in spring training, but right now I don't have any. I'm not looking for him. Really not looking for Brad. I think he's going too high. Funny about Estevez, everything you said about Estevez as a closer, I totally agree with. I mean, that was a career year too. It was a 42 saves or something. I'm not going to have any Estevez. I don't think he's got great stuff. I think he had he's in a great situation and he did a great job, but he could go the other way, and you're paying for last year's stats with Estevez.
Yeah, you'll get in and get out with saves. Fastball is good enough. The command was better, but like I said, the strikeouts weren't there. So sometimes I'm always like that. Last year, I really went into a mental focus. If a guy dropped, he was striking out 9.5 batters per nine, and he was like 8.4, 8.3, and I think Corbin Burns fell into that, and there was another pitcher. If they had that drop, they were on. I tossed them out. I wasn't drafting them. Yep. And then this is a relief pitcher having that kind of similar drop, and that was pretty much a fade. Augustin Ramirez got called up, and he was getting $200 fab bids last year in the main event. Really kind of lived up to expectations. Stole, I think, 16 base hits, home runs. He's going to play a lot of DH. He's going to get more at bats. Kind of, when I'm looking at that, I was on the live stream and I needed steals, and I think, okay, if I take the catcher, I'm going to chip in with steals and kind of get advantage in another position, and that's why I went with him. So, I know that you like him as a player. Corey Seager, everybody knows he is a great player. Could hit a ton of home runs. Could be like a 40, 120 guy and hit for average. Everything comes together, but he just seems like he gets nicked up. Love him, but I think that this is a little bit early in the main event. I did take him in one draft that I had earlier, just trying to get a middle of the order, middle infielder with power, and he fit my team structure. And this guy's just hammering the offense pretty much. He's got Hunter Brown. He's going to fit her out the pitch, and he comes back with Tyler Soderstrom, who really he was another guy that was maybe a 20th round pick, and he ended up outperforming expectations, been a pretty good value there. As far as Perdomo, he was the guy I wrote something earlier that he was a waiver wire to pick up. People would think maybe Kurtz was, but based on overall value, he just had really popped last year, and I know you got him on the waiver wire in one high dollar league, and it was really, really helpful. But he took more walks and he had strikeouts. His exit velocity and all that other stuff didn't line up, but he stole 27 bases, hit 20 home runs. He's probably going to hit maybe chance to hit first or second in the lineup for Arizona. So I think that the whole package is there. And I just went, okay, I'm going to chip for steals, take whatever he gives in home runs, hopefully improves. My other option was to fade it. I was already going to fade second base. So Story, do I want Pena? Do I want Bichette? If I take Bichette, I don't get any steals. So that was the guy that was kind of drop off. So I knew that going into that turn that I would sacrifice the Perdomo because of where his ADP's like in the 80s or something in the other events that people are really not fighting for him. Some people are, but I went with it. I thought the catcher was more important because it was less of him, and I could live with Perdomo where I already had a first base, already had a shortstop. And then, okay, so I'm going to talk about Cruz because he came into equation. I was doing the main event that I had Judge, and I had some power, and I'm not been a Cruz guy. He really struggled with lefties, stole 38 bases or something last year. He stole a ton of bases, and he hit some home runs, but he just hasn't, legs at velocity and all that stuff matches up, but he just strikes out too much. Lefties are a problem that kind of hurts him. But, when he gets discounted in these drafts, you're looking for a guy with power and speed. And if you got Judge with him and two other guys that hit for average, like, all right, I can handle this guy. And, if a guy strikes out 200 times, right? And I use this in contact batting average, which means is, what is their batting average you want to play? I hate BABIP. It's the worst stat there is. I want to know when they hit the ball and they put a play, what they hit for batting average, because it's a really good indicator for like Cruz. If he hits over 400, which he can, and same with Dela Cruz, if they strike out 200 times, these guys could still strike out 200 times and hit 260. You just don't want the guy that strikes out 200 times and has a contact batting average of like 350, 340, because they're going to hit around 200. So I think that's an important number. It's easy to see, and you just get a mental picture of like, all right, this guy could easily hit 260 this year if he reverts back to his contact batting average in the past. Can he figure out lefties? I don't know. But for the right team structures and you're doing it, he's going to be a really good fit to the puzzle. He is a much better buy this year in the 8th round or even in the 12th team where it's probably okay. But in the main event or something like 8th round for team structure, he's going to stand out. Like this guy's going to give me an out for speed there. And I think that he's a pretty good pick. What do you think on him?
Yeah, I had Cruz last year in one of my main events, and the 202 batting average was just brutal. What do you have, 38 steals? I mean, I was even hoping for more there. I mean, he had just a bad year. I guess if you're going to take him, this would be the year because you're going to get value on him. I haven't got him yet, so I'm not looking for him. I don't think I'm going to have much of him. Like you said, I got Perdomo last year in the 10K auction. What a pickup that was. He was almost 100 with the 27 and the 20. I mean, with good average. I mean, he did everything. I've got 3 shares. I know you're on him. I mean, you got him in this draft. I've gotten him a couple times, so I do like him. You were mentioning there August Ramirez. Last year, I did 6 online championship, got him on the waiver wire in all 6. I was bidding like $150 to $200, like you were saying, and I was lucky enough to get him. And he was just a great help in all of them. And the other guy, you mentioned Corey Seager. It's been a while since he's done something. I'm probably going to be off him. It's just other people, I like more. But I'm like you mentioned Cruz. I'm probably I want to see Cruz do it. I don't think I'm going to have him unless he, like if you said he was the 7th round pick, Cruz, I have to go to the 9th round, then I would consider him, something like that. So I don't think I'm going to have him, Sean. The average is brutal.
Framber Valdez goes from Houston, signs with Detroit. Been pretty good guy to relies on the curveball, and his numbers have been pretty good for 3 or 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row. Probably a pretty good similar spot for, pitching Detroit, maybe a little better ballpark. I would think Detroit's offense because chance of pop. Story was really bad. Not really bad. I guess he really kind of had some counting stats were okay. The average wasn't there. He got cut in a high dollar league last year, and then he really kind of put it together the last 4 months of the year. Strikeouts are still pretty high, but he was good in Colorado. I don't think he's at that level as far as, the average hit rate and the contact batting average that I talk about, that he's there where he's the same player. But, he's still bases. I think he stole his first 30 bases and did get caught, and then he got caught one more time, and they stole, I think he ended up with 31 steals. But, nice balanced player. Lineup shifts in Boston. He probably still going to hit in a decent lineup. Cease, was up and down last year. I think he's had 200 strikeouts 4 or 5 years in a row. And when I look at Cease, I just think that he's going to hurt my whip, and that's kind of a problem, especially when you got like he's the second ace. You got Yamamoto, who you think is a foundation whip guy. ERA is going to be under 3, and then you add Cease, you're going to back up a little bit, and then you even add Snell, who's has a potential of high upside for a lot of strikeouts, but he is a guy that sometimes walks too many guys, but he is tough to hit. So both of those guys could kind of pop. Schwellenbach had a good start to last year. He was really a guy that got a lot of, moved up draft boards and got a lot of steam before the live events. He was a 4th rounder, was probably delivering that, up to expectations or even better for the first, 2 months or so before he got hurt. And then he kind of bailed out. He's coming off an injury. So I'm always fearful of the guys coming off an injury, and you just think they're not going to get back. Jerry Pena, he looks like he's going to be a better player. Hasn't got to where you think that he's a trusted, like, do it all and steal 20. I think he stole 20 bases, but he just, he looks like he would be, a strong enough guy where he could hit 30 home runs, but it hasn't matched up. Will Smith sits a little bit for the Dodgers. They wrote another catcher. Hits a decent part of the lineup. Can hit some runs. He was a high fly ball hitter, backed up a little bit, but I think the fly balls came back last year. Rosarina kind of struggled a little bit out of the gate. Hit, I think, 31 home runs last year. Really kind of came on. Batting average still a little bit at risk, stole 20-something bases. Pretty balanced guy. You look for a skill set. Really like Drake Baldwin, what he brought with the Braves. I think he's the guy that I think he could hit for average and really kind of pop. He might sit sometimes, so give up some at-bats. So I guess with the range with Will Smith and them together is pretty comparable, but I think Baldwin is a guy I would rather have as far as direction. And I'll go one more player before I go to you, Eddie. So Yuri Perez, he got Mizorowski or whatever, the guy from probably pronouncing that, and for the Brewers. They got hit the waiver wire about the waiver wire at about the same time. And I thought Perez would be the better guy. I think that he wasn't at first, but at the end. But those group of players, anybody stand out that you'd be interested in? Or
you just mentioned Yuri Perez. I'm definitely interested in him. I think he did come on at the end of the year. So he's a guy I'll be keeping an eye on. I mean, you got to like the situation with Valdez now moving into the American League. I think he's probably going to move up a round or two now, too, though. The Trevor Story was something, huh? He was a waiver wire pickup. I think he was on the show. You were saying how Andy got him for like $22 or something. And did he have a 30-30 season? I mean, are you kidding me?
the home runs
I got to see that again. I mean, there were too many bad years in between. So, I'm not going to be there. Now, Sean, I'm on the clock right now. Help me with a pick. Here's my options. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm in a slow draft. I can 40th round. I can go Vaughn Grisham, AJ Burbaugh for Houston, the pitcher, JT Ginn, Hernandez, the outfielder for Miami, D. Castillo, like Utah, Arizona, utility. I need one of those 5. Any of them you like?
Yeah, go with a Richie guy. Yeah.
Oh, he's there. Is it too early for that? How about the other guys?
I don't know if you need a middle infielder. Grisham's worth a shot, but I mean, nobody else really stood out.
It's either him or Del Castillo. So you know what? I'll go Grisham. I got a couple of shares.
The catcher is pretty interesting because he qualifies a DH and he kind of slips through the cracks. So if you're a weak at catcher, he does make a lot of sense, and I would probably think I could trust him a little bit more. But it depends on what you have. I can't see your whole structure.
Yeah, I mean, I've already got some catchers. I also got Herrera, who's same position. He's going to have to get the games to qualify. He would have been an extra guy, but still, though, he's a guy that's got some power, and I think he's a good late pick. He might even come back. So hopefully, no one's watching your show right now. None of the guys in this league.
That's all right. So anyway, all those players I went through, Perez, we like him. All right, Here's the one that's a wild card. Now, McLean was really, really good for the Mets. To me, he comes in with a reliever profile, and I'm not sure he's going to get enough innings this year to match some of the other younger arms that got drafted. You got the Schittler guy from the Yankees, you got Burns, you got your Savage guy, you got Bubba Chandler, but McLean has got the New York steam or the Mets steam, or he's got gets drafted in front of him. And to me, I think that I'm against the grain on the thing, and I probably should just read what I wrote or put up what I said on him so I can see exactly what I, how I worded it or whatever. I do think he's a talented arm, and but where he goes, I'm not sure that I would go for him. So, you know, he uh, McLean comes over so he should be able to make 30 stops in 2026. Young ace added some depth in his offering, showing growth in command. The majors. This draft will be treated at a borderline SP2, SP3, depending on league size. His resume is short, command hurdles to clear before becoming a trusted fantasy ace. Low mileage on his arm is a plus. McLean falls into the range between a breakout arm and a bust season. So I guess I got him. I see the talent and I see the potential upside for him, but it's just I'm not sure he's going to get it all there. But I mean, there's more to that profile on that. So, but anyway, so McLean, are you drafting him where he goes, or do you prefer to kind of cheat and maybe catch one of those other young arms later?
I kind of like all them young arms you mentioned. McLean is a yes. Matter of fact, the draft I'm in right now, I got him at 7-8, which I think's fair because I've been seeing him go early 7 in a few drafts. But I don't know if you watched any of that pitches list stuff last week. They were on for a couple days, and a lot of the smart guys there, they were all talking about McLean, and they love him. And this was 3 or 4 different guys. Some of the guys I look up to. So that's in the back of my head. They have McLean a level above all the next guys, a full round. So he is someone I'm going to be looking into, watching in this spring. I like Burns. Guy throws 100 miles an hour. We got a little taste last year. I know you like Burns. We're both Burns guys. And Trey Savage just looked amazing in the playoffs. They had a couple of 10 strikeout games or something. Schittler, I don't know enough about. I have to keep looking into him. Bubba Chandler was a disappointment last year. See how he does. He kind of goes really high. Probably not going to have him, but definitely interested in McLean, Burns, and the Savage.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go. I'll go to round 10 and then do like a quick back end recap. I don't want to. This is obviously over an hour, and I probably could talk forever on this, and we'll see if there's any feedback and to do the rest of the players or do another draft where I catch the back end from 11 to 20 or something like that. But, we've talked pretty much in depth there. So Salvador Perez, a veteran catcher, hits, clutch ability, can hit 3-run home runs, really slow footed, kind of hurts you a little bit in runs, but hits in a decent part of the lineup. Michael Harris, we thought a couple of years ago, he was a guy who was going to hit close to 300, scored a bunch of runs at the bottom of the lineup when Acuna was so great. Last year, he kind of struggled out of the box. He ended up being 86 RBIs, 20 home runs, 20 steals. But when you look at his profile, he's going to be hitting down the lineup again, most likely, unless there's an injury. But, he does have a balanced skill set and the batting average. I think he ended up 256. His batting average could be a lot better. Doesn't take enough walks to have that top of the lineup profile. Nico Horner is he's a guy that's he falls in that thing when I talk about the average hit rate. He's like 1.37. So like when you look at him like 8 or 10 home runs, I mean, that's kind of the max he's going to be. He can steal bases. He can hit for average. He will score some runs. Will he hit, second again? And that'll be pretty good. So to me, he's kind of like a, kind of a neutral skill set that I would prefer to get 5 or 6 rounds later. That doesn't happen, so I wouldn't end up with him. Gavin Williams stumbled a little bit out of the gate last year, really rebounded, but still walks too many guys, had strikeouts. He had a little bit of injury risk coming in last year. I had him one draft, cut him. I went but looked at it, and I was like, you know what? I didn't really miss that much, even though he was probably better than I expected. I talked about Springer having a good year. He ran a little bit. He's been running more at the end of the career. When he went to Houston early on, you thought he would be like a 30-30 guy, and he just didn't run. But he did miss a little bit of time. He does have a little more injuries on his resume the last few years. So Springer is what he is. Blank Snell, he's kind of really faded because he had, arm fatigue or something like that, and people, kind of getting off him. But he's a really streaky arm. If he's on, he could be really, really good, and he kind of could be a difference maker. And if you're playing in, a $350 league with an overall championship, I mean, you could see why you want to take a swing. When he was coming down to that round, I was like, do I need to go after him? And I, in the back of my head, I knew that they had that little note about him, whatever, the fatigue thing. And I was like, I was probably go look at it, but one more time before I drafted him. But I was live with Greg, so I didn't have that liberty to kind of, goes searching around outside the box here. Yanni Diaz, a decent catcher, hit for average, doesn't take a lot of walks, can hit some home runs. Was a little slow out of the box, really didn't blow you away, but a nice, solid, steady catcher. Bichette, what he is, goes to the Mets. He's led the league in hits multiple times. He had a lot of hits rebounded last year. Steals haven't been there for multiple years. Home runs really haven't popped, but he does have talent. Is he a difference maker? I don't know. Thought he would be a better player. Halsey lost his way last year. Started, getting hit, lost his command, goes to the Orioles. You'd think he would rebound. I'm not 100% sure. Have some competition for some, if Batista bounces back or something. If he trips up, could be a factor. And then Suzuki, really good start to the year, drove in a lot of runs, then kind of faded a little bit. His overall end of the year, when you look at the package, wasn't as great as the start was, so he did back up a little bit, but I think that he's a pretty good player, checks a lot of things for me. I just went for the guy in the lineup where he was hitting anyways, and Nick Pavetta has improved his command and been better. So in that round of those players, I kind of breezed through them just because of the lengths of this. Anybody like that you on or off in that round?
Yeah, we mentioned a few. Let me see. Springer. I mean, last year, what a steal he was. What was he, 14th, 15th? 16th? And I didn't get him once because he hit like 214 the year before. I thought he was on it. I thought he was done. I never thought he could come up with such a year. Even in the 8th round or in a 15-teamer, I'd be interested in Springer. Blake Snell in a 15-teamer at the end of the 5th round, I think, could be a good pick. I've had a couple. I think I got him once, and one time he went right in front of me. I had a lot of Suzuki last year. He was kind of a safe guy. He didn't hurt me. Pavetta had a great year, but you might be paying for last year's numbers. But I don't think he's going to hurt. I think he'll be okay. We talked about Michael Harris the other day. You corrected me on the. I thought he had 90 runs. It was he had the 90 ribbies with maybe not as many runs, but he did a lot of batting at the end of the lineup, and I think he's a young, good player. I think if he moves up those, he could gain another 25, 30 runs in a season to his numbers. So Nico Horn is safe. You're going to get your 30 steals and a little bit of everything else. So I'm not on Yanni Diaz or Salvador Perez. I'm not a catcher guy, so I'm not going to be probably going there. That's I think we went over Helsley. I think Helsley can do the job for Baltimore, and he'd be a closer I'd get if he he's actually not falling in those best balls. He goes kind of early. He's like there in the 4th round, so I haven't gotten him once just because he's going so early.
Yeah. So in the 10th round, it comes out. Team 12 takes Cam Schittler from the Yankees. I really pitched well at the end of the year. I do like him. The Savage guy and him. There's a 2-round difference. I actually would take the Savage guy in front of him. But when you're doing drafts and you're looking at this, sometimes you try to get both, and so I'd be okay with that. But I just think I just like the Toronto pitcher a little bit better. Chase Brown, he has the chance to get a lot of strikeouts. Little bit of injury risk because he hit the waiver wire. I mean the injured list last year a little bit. So, but I went for the ceiling in this kind of contest. I'm not 100% sure. He's going to pop, but I went for the strikeouts and the talent on that one. I actually looked at, and I had a different league, and I had more time to think about it. And Tyler Glasnow was there, Sheehan's there, he's there, and a couple of the arms. And Glasnow is going to pitch 130 innings. Can Sheehan pitch enough to pitch 140 innings? He really came on. And I juggled it all together. In the end, I said, you know what? I'll take Burns. I think that innings might not get to where he is, but he probably can match those guys and have the strikeouts, and he potentially could pop. So that was kind of like a triangle there in a different league that I had already thought about when I was on the clock, and I definitely thought that where he was in the queue, he would come off the board. Woodruff took forever last year to come off the injured list, and he finally pitched well for a while, and then kind of faded at the end of the year. But he's had a pretty good career. Commands there, gets his strikeouts. Should be a little bit better, but we'll see. Suarez cut down his strikeouts, had a ton of home runs, and he just can, he's just a fly ball hitter and pull hitter, and just hits a ton of things there. Pagan, waiver wire, good pickup, got like 28 saves last year. Really helped teams up. The first mover sometimes on waiver wire has worked out multiple times in the NFBC since I've been one guy that gets saves that first week you spend that $200 or $300, like especially where he's not like some big name that's finally got the job. You're like, oh, he got a couple saves. He's going to be a little bit cheaper, but he worked out really, really well. And can he repeat it? I'm not sure. Doesn't have enough closing experience to say for sure that he get it, but he's worth a flyer. Iglesias was just brutal over the first half of the year, kind of figured it out. They brought in another pitcher to compete with him for saves who looks, comparable or even better. Both players are over 35, so that's a little bit of a coin flip. I would prefer to have the discounted player, but the discounted player might not get the job for a while, but we'll see. And you never know. If Iglesias is successful out of the gate, he'll keep it as long as you want. Bush will sit a little bit against some lefties. Was really a pretty good player, productive, home runs, and he's going to hit in a decent part of the lineup. And I think that he potentially get better. I had him on, I think he's a DH person on one of my teams last year, and he kind of worked out well. Joe Adell, I think he hit the waiver wire last year. It's kind of struggled, but really kind of looked like he figured it out last year. He's going to give you some speed and get the home runs. The batting average isn't going to really kill you as much as it was, because I think the strikeout rate's gone down a little bit. But it makes sense that for what he brings to the table, I think he will outperform his ADP. And his biggest risk is obviously the strikeouts, and they lead into him having more batting average risk. I really looked at Wheeler when I dug really down, and it's like, when can he get back? And I think that he'll be out a couple months. I'm not 100% sure, but I figured so it's hard enough winning fantasy baseball with the players, and I've carried these guys and carried young guys and got burnt, but I think Wheeler's going to be out long enough where I don't want to chase that the injury that he's coming off of down. But I could see that people going after him. Mizorowski from Milwaukee, throws 100 miles an hour, walked guys a couple of years ago, didn't get the length in games, really kind of looked like he was the guy coming on last year. And then he kind of backed up a little bit. He still has to prove himself that he can hit a lot of innings in the majors. I think he is talented. He does have a ceiling. Talked about Glass now. He seems like he should be just great, but he can never stay healthy. Hasn't pitched over 135 innings in his career, I believe. And then Alex Bregman's a veteran player, middle of the lineup thing. He would have probably fit my team build when I took Suzuki. I could have taken him, but I figured I need an outfielder more than I needed a third baseman type player. So this is the last round we'll talk about for the players. But Eddie, going through that round kind of quick there. What are you thinking?
Like Adele, I mean, what was he, 30, 90 something last year? I think he can do that again, and maybe he can get his average up a little. Average is low. Anything over 250, I think you would be happy. Some of the guys I'm off of, Iglesias, because they just gave $45 million to Suarez, who might be better than him. So why would you go there when you get someone who's safer? Glasnow, you always got the injury risk. I think he's going over 130 innings once in 9 years or whatever his career is. Not a Bregman guy. I don't know why everyone pays for him. You're lucky if you get a 20-80 out of him. I don't know the last time he had a big year. So those are the offs. Some of the other guys. I like Jacob Mizorowski, and I think his price is fair. He went 11-9 in my last main event. I mean, you're talking 10th, 11th, 12th round. That's fine. Even if he doesn't work out, that you can live with that. Zach Wheeler, definitely a better best ball guy, because you don't have to worry about it. Set it, forget it. He shows up in a couple of months, and then you got a top 10 pitcher. So I like him more in obviously the best balls. Suarez, all that power. I've got him once or twice because third base is tough, and you can get him late 8th, 9th round in a 15-teamer. And like I said, we've already gone over Chase Burns. We both like his upside. And Michael Bush kind of came out last year. I mean, I never would have thought he'd be a 30-90 guy, but he is, and he could probably do it again. So yeah, there's a lot of things in that round I like, and a couple I wouldn't go with.
All right, so just to round this out, I'll just kind of walk through the back end of my roster, what I was thinking, decision, and just like I said, I just want to back this up, and we're going to be on for an hour and a half, and that's pretty long for, especially tying up a guy like you when you got a whole team of kids that want to play with you. So anyways, after I take Burns, I take Andy Podges from the Dodgers, stole bases, hit home runs, struggled out of the gate, thought he fit where I get a little bit of speed at the outfield position. Really didn't see much that was available at that position. I guess Rafaela for the Red Sox, he played outfield. He could have been that player. Figured he hit down in the lineup. I figured The Dodgers top of the lineup a little bit better, so I went with that. And then potentially that other player, I actually could have got him instead of Sheehan, but I wanted to get a pitcher. So I took Sheehan with a comparison for the glass. Now I know that they're going to try to maybe get 6 guys in there, but I like what he brought to the table. I don't think even if he pitches, spots out and misses it, I don't think he was going to pitch 180 innings anyways. So I'd be okay if he pitches 140 and I catch what I can out of him. If I got to sit him, I got to sit him. I made the decision on the Basello guy from the Orioles that Rochman, I drafted him firstly. I thought he would be, a really good player. Just the direction of them, he could hit higher in the lineup, but I just think Basello is going to offer more power. I think he could sneaky be some speed. He's going to play DH, and he's going to get enough at bats where maybe I could have taken one of those other catches. Like Teal's profile was decent for me, but he's going to be somewhat of a split. Moreno, I'm not drafting him where he goes. I think he has to prove himself to me. I do like Carter Jensen a lot. So I would actually, I think would take Jensen in front of Teal for me right now, because I think that I like his approach. I think that his exit velocity really matched up, and I think he's getting better. Where Teal's got a little more of a split, and I think he's talented. But Jensen's probably a guy that's probably maybe a little bit better player for this year. But I went with the upside of the other guy could pop and maybe gives me some steals. So. And then when it came down to Albies, I was looking at Albies, and the cheat would be for me to, the play that I would want to go to based on where I was going is McLean, because McLean is a guy that could steal 25 bases, hit 20 home runs. He really 2 years ago hit 424 for a contact batting average when he had that little 362 at bats, and he kind of put together, and he looked like he was going to be really, really good. He missed a year, came back, and he just struck out too much, over 28%, and just didn't fire. The end of the year, he's a little bit better, but he was slow out of the gate. But I figured a bounce back year, he would have kind of make sense. But I made the decision I'm going to go with the Braves and take the third Braves there, take a little bit of steals out of Albies and not run it down, knowing it's a 12-teamer. If it's a 15-teamer, it might be a little different because the waiver wire is going to be a little more diminished. Then I came back and I took Bieber, just a veteran guy that should have pretty good command. Comes back. Doyle, for down year, going to hurt me a little batting average, but a little more balanced player. Hoping for a rebound, trying to catch Ryan Walker. Didn't see much competition there, but when I did his profile, it's not that I loved what I saw of him, but I didn't see the competition, and he looked pretty good before. I think he only has 10, 15, 20 saves on his career resume, so he's not far from a lock, but he's kind of the drop-off because the next guy went to Robert Garcia, and I think that, to me, Garcia is not enough to me. I would much rather have Walker, and I believe that I talked to that owner offline, and he would make that same decision. Caglione is a guy that when you're doing this thing, I know I need speed, and probably the player that I really should be drafting when I was thinking about it, Sal Frelick was the guy that fit my profile. All right, I got some power, I got some balancing. I'm looking for like a 10-30 guy, maybe hit for average. Not sure he's going to hit for sure at the top of the lineup if they move Yelich up there, but he kind of fit what I needed. But there's always a chance that he could slide and make it back to me. So I said, you know what? You're trying to win an overall championship. You got a couple aces. Let's go for the Kansas City power hitter. Hopefully pops this year, and we'll see what happens. And that's what I went for. Then I just backed down to Steer. When I drafted Steer at first base, I actually, in my mind, I think he's an outfield option as well. And he started off slow last year. He's coming off an injury, a shoulder. He stole 25 bases 2 years ago and only 7 last year. But he's got multiple 20 home run seasons in a row. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's going to play left field a lot. He's going to get some other playing time. So I like him. And then when Suarez was on the board, his ADP was 150 showing in this queue. And he went, this went after 230. And I said, you know what? I'm getting the back end of Atlanta at a severe discount. I got to take him there. And then I was kind of the Paredes guy from Houston. He's a high fly ball hitter. He's a pull hitter. He takes a decent amount of walks, or he doesn't strike out a lot. He should have hit in a decent part of the lineup. Like, to me, he was a great value to fit what I was doing, and I didn't really need to play him, but he could play him at DH. I could rotate him in at third base or corner, if Steer goes in the outfield. So I gave me options. Took Josh Lowe for the speed, maybe a bounce back, let me down last year. The ballpark didn't help. Really did a good profile of Shane Smith. I thought that, he's kind of a big guy, could be a horse. Vargas first and third kind of gave me extra flexibility. Liked him last year, didn't get to where he wanted to. This is where I got tricky. I lost on some of the younger pitchers that I was interested in. Just took Reese Olson, where he's decent coming off an injury. Not sure what I get out of him, but I might be able to use him for a while. Took Shar. He's kind of like backed out of the profile of the Cubs. Not sure where he's going to play. He could qualify at another position, and I'm really stacking these third basemen. But I think that he if he qualifies at somewhere else, that could be helpful for me. But he also steals bases, and I want to see where that goes. And then Beavers was a guy from Baltimore that would steal bases, so he fits what I was looking for. Then Lawler, when they had traded Alexander away, I already thought that he would be in the mix, but that just cleared a play where I'm drafting him more as an outfielder that he would play, and hopefully pops, but he's let people do the last couple of years. And then I just took 2 veteran pitchers that should give some innings and get strikeouts. Will they improve? I'm not sure, but I think they were fairly priced. And I just kind of breezed through that kind of fast, Eddie. Anything you want to say on that before we lose these people here and saying, like, why are we wasting all their time?
Yeah, let me see. I mentioned, I think Ryan Walker, just like you said, the job's his. There's really not much there. I think 15 teamers. He's like one of the last guys you know is going to close, and that's like in the 10th round. Caglione, the upside, he killed me last year. Probably cost me money in the 10K because of the batting average. He had about 200 bats and just murdered you. But the 40 home runs is in there. Is it going to be this year? I think 16th, 17th, 18th round is a fair price. I like that one. You're the one telling me about Shane Smith. I didn't realize how big and what a horse he can be. I noticed a lot of the guys are grabbing him, so I got to look into him some more. I like Dylan Beavers. You drafted him. I think Vargas, another guy like that in 3rd or 4th, is going to get a lot of at-bats. The Basello guy, I think I told you, I thought he went a little too high. You can maybe get another guy 2 or 3. But, I mean, I know he's got a lot of potential there. And who else? Shane Bieber. I think he's safe where you got him. And I love the Suarez pick. I mean, you got him 75 picks. And like I said, Iglesias does bad or gets hurt, you got yourself a top 10 closer in baseball. So that was a steal.
Yeah, so in the end, I'm not sure my batting average is where it needs to be. I'm going to have to work on speed. The middle gap for the starting pitching, I'm maybe short on some innings unless some of those back-end guys kind of work out. I think the power will probably be okay if everybody stays healthy. And obviously I'm relying on, having a really good whip, ERA, and strikeouts on my front 2 pitchers. If, something happens, then I'm backing up, and then I think I'm saves are okay. So overall, it's a little different team than I normally would, especially when Greg was saying I'm like more of a 75 guy after 3 hitters and, stuff like that. But, sometimes you're at the mercy of the league you're in, right? And at the same time, this is a 12-teamer instead of 15-teamer. So your outs that you're going to find in the waiver wire or even in the draft, like at the back end of the pool, you're going to get more players that might fit how you drafted, and it kind of could work out well. So, there's a lot of people in watching this, and I appreciate it. And I could go on and talk about the rest of this, but I don't think I want this thing to be 4 hours, and it's obviously went longer than I thought. And normally I don't go outside the box, but again, all this content is this cheat sheet. Anybody wants to go to it, I'll put the link. I'll drop the link in the Twitter thing if anybody wants to look at it. And like I said, it links to all these profiles, and then anybody, the Substack stuff, you can join or whatever, but anybody can see whatever. You just have to have been putting all the baseball profiles on. You just click through it, see it, whatever. I'm working for Fantasy on SI, so I'm getting paid, but I'm just trying to get enough followers, and we hopefully will see where this goes in a few years, and kind of overlap in here, but it pretty much just do football and baseball. And again, Eddie, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time, and thank everybody for watching, and we'll see whatever. Maybe I got one more online championship, and maybe I'll do that one live, and I'll get John and something like that, and we'll see where it goes. So,
sure. Thank you for having me. It's been fun. I haven't done this in a while, and once you start getting going, it's a blast. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
You still there?